Hello, my name is Bill Haley, and this is for Haley 2024 The Movement's Government Reform Ideas. Now, this video is going to be on citizenship. So, if you don't know what's going on, I'm creating a whole new constitution for the United States, for every state, and the same constitution for the localities, for every city, every county. So, what we have going on is I want a lot more liberty, a lot more freedom, a lot more competitive governance. So, yes, we do need to be governed, but we can have competitive governance. So education got a lot more free enterprise, military, roads, police, courts, all this can be free enterprise, but with a lot of controls. So the Constitution is about 14,000 words, about 600 clauses, I believe it is. So it's a lot of clauses, really reining in the free enterprise system so they don't get out of control, putting societal oversight over things. So you are governed, but you're governed by the CRA, Competitive Regulatory Agency, that you choose to have. So let's go over the structure really quick, and then we'll get into the citizen part of it. This video is going to be strictly on the citizenship. Okay, so here is the 30 sectors we separate all government power. Now, when I say separate all government power, we don't just have Secretary of Education, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Transportation. We have a full top leader, elected leader, legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch per sector. So the president over military is a different one than the president over healthcare, different than environmental control. We have different people. So not any one person is not over, let's say, roads and insurance, or the courts and family law, or charitable distribution associations, which is a funding mechanism to help the poor, or let's say the military. So they're all separated. This video is not about that separation. We'll go over it probably a little bit. Here's 5 in the charity system, 5 in the foreign protection system, 5 in the violent crime mitigation system. Again, everything's free enterprise, but with controls. We have 2 major authorization agencies. Those are societal oversight roles. To have governmental power, to be a police officer, to be a judge, to be a prison guard, to run a prison, you have to have approval by 70 representatives of 70% of the people. So it's very important. To be in the military and to have a battle group, to have a be a tank commander, to have a military business, you have to be approved by representatives of 70% of the people. So there's a lot of controls. That's not the only controls, but there's a lot of controls. Then we separate all these other sectors out as well. So we have top leaders per sector. But what's so important is, once we have that sector, you choose who you want to be governed by. There'll be about a dozen different CRAs, competitive regulatory agencies. They are competitive governing agencies, competitive regulatory agencies, and they send representatives up to the monopolized government only when it's absolutely positively necessary. I'm saying 10 to 15%. Depends on how you want to look at it, how much control's over there, but it's not that much control at the monopolized sector. Obviously, the societal oversight roles, giving people authority to have government power, that is at the sector board level, monopolized. So there's a lot to get into. Look at those videos, but this is supposed to be a super quick overview so we can understand the whole Constitution. Now let's get into the full Constitution. I'm just going to go over the major sections. We're talking about citizenship on this video, but that's the section 1, general laws, bylaws, federal, state, and local, how we separate different things out. Original authority, what gives us authority even to have a constitution, what gives us authority to even have law, and it goes into a teaching on that. Not just a teaching, but the Constitution doing the teaching means it's our fundamental beliefs. Supermajority, anything at the sector board level, anything at the monopolized governance has to be at 70%, so you supermajority. So most things are going to stay at the CRA level, competitive regulatory agency level. And the parent sector board level, the sector board level, the competitive regulatory agencies, everything in this Constitution is built around the competitive regulatory agencies and making that work properly. The rating system, which is I'm not going to get into it on this video too much, but look at that on my website. I'm going to have videos on the rating system. It's highly important. It gives high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives. A lot of people have a lot of different ways of looking at how things should be rated. So we don't want a monopolized rating system. We have about a dozen different rating agencies, and you give your power, your representative power, to a rating agency, and that they rate. And that's the way you can get good quality information. You can take a look at everybody's rating agencies information, but you put your weight behind one of them. Obviously we still need taxation, because we have, even though we have private sector military, the part that's not private sector is collecting the money. That's taxes. And there's other reasons why we have taxes and fees, and hey, we have about $70,000 to $80,000 per household we collect per year from government at the federal, state, and local combined. So we still need taxation, and we put ourselves in a massive debt with Social Security liabilities, with a lot of different liabilities out there. The government's in massive debt, and how are we going to deal with that debt? Basically, we sell off all of our government assets to the free enterprise system, because the free enterprise system is going to be doing what the government's currently doing. So they're going to need the roads, the school buildings, the cop cars, the police stations, the aircraft carriers, and the whatnots, the hospitals, the public colleges, all those things, public schools, all go into the free enterprise system. And when we sell it off, it's going to pay off a lot of the debt. And if that doesn't cover it, we still have another way of paying off some of the debt. So we still have taxes in the system. We still have to be responsible with paying off debt that we as a society took on. And it's a big subject, and I'll get into, I have a debt page. I have a debt section. I'm going to have a debt video. We have a debt on my website. Everything's on the website. The Pocket of Freedom is my chief immigration and foreign policy section. Look at that. I'm not going to get into that right now. We're talking about citizenship, so it will come up. So we're establishing citizen responsibility, states partial acceptance per sector, and then how we separate all government power into 30 sectors. We went over those 30 sectors briefly, not far, but briefly. And so let's go over citizenship. It's the first section in our Constitution. I believe it's 14, 15 sections in our Constitution. America, okay, these are actual clauses in the Constitution. And it starts off, America is a citizen ownership model of government. It's dramatically different than what we currently have. It, by nature, a citizen ownership model. Now let's say what that is and what that's not, with the other clauses coming up. Every American citizen owns an equal percentage of the federal government. Every citizen of a state owns an equal percentage of their state government. Every citizen of a local government owns an equal percentage of their local government. So if there's 200,000 people in your local government, you own 1/200,000th. If there's 10 million people in your state government, you own 1/10 millionth. 330 million or so people in the federal government, or within America, American citizens, you own 1 out of 330 millionth. Okay. Let's go. Oh, this is very important on what that means, what ownership means. Ownership of a government conveys an equal representation of the government's elected leaders. Ownership of a government may not be bought or sold, and does not convey ownership of property or wealth. Ownership of a government requires a positive obligation and has inherent benefits. So once I say America is a government ownership model of government, citizen ownership model of government, I'm sorry. America is a citizen ownership model of government. This defines it. It's not saying that you own a percentage of the government property or real estate or wealth. That's not what it's talking about. So I define it here. I don't want any misunderstandings. I don't leave a lot of misunderstandings within the Constitution here. I really spell it out. That's why it's over 14,000 words in it, because I really try to spell it out. Because anybody who wants a certain model of government, they're going to try to twist the words of the Constitution and make it what they want it to be. And that's understandable. I want to do the same thing with our current Constitution. Everybody does, and it's getting all warped. So it is warranted to have a good 14,000 words. Okay, every American has the right to become a citizen of any city and any state in America. So you have free movement. You can travel to any state in America, any territory in America. Americans may hold multiple state and local citizenships. So if you have a house in Florida and a house in New York, no problem. You're a citizen of both. You only have one vote for the federal, and there's another video. I'll talk about how you have votes. Well, we're going to have competitive regulatory agencies or competitive representative agencies as well, and they'll work everything out. I have a method for that. Anyway, so you don't get double vote just because you have double citizenships in two different states. But if you have a house in Florida and a house in New York, you want representation because that affects your house. And you have property there, so you need representation. Okay, but there's a lot to get into on that. There's more obligations for you, but sometimes some of your obligations can be cut in half in both states. But some needs to have full obligations in both states. For example, you need a law enforcement contract in both states because you need that land protected. But your charity giving, which is mandated, you can split it up between the two different states. It's a lot to get into, and I'm not going to get into that now, even though I tried going down that rabbit hole. The CRA social contract, and we do a social contract, guys. You have to sign a social contract to be an American citizen. If not, you're not an American citizen, and you're not allowed to live here unless we allow you to stay here. Although you still have to abide by the social contract. It's part of us, the American citizens, owning our country gets to make the decisions on how the country's going to work. The rules for the land in which we jointly own. And if you don't want to be an owner of it, then you don't get to live here. I know that there's a lot to get into on that, and I'm not going to go far into that. There's a lot of teaching against that, and I'll go toe to toe with somebody who wants to claim, no, I shouldn't have to have any responsibilities. No. To be part of a society, you have to have obligations and get the inherent benefits. You can't just get the inherent benefits. You can't get the positive externalities of other people doing stuff. There's a lot to get into. This Constitution is made to have the greatest amount of liberty and choices within a governmental system. So, let's go back over this. The CRA social contract is an American agreement to become a member of a CRA and RA in all 30 sectors of the local, their state, and the federal CRA structure. So it's very important that you are a member of each local, state, and federal, each level of government. When this amendment becomes law, every current American citizen has the right for 2 years to sign the CRA social contract. If you don't, you're not an American citizen. You can apply to become an American citizen, but then it requires a 70% vote of the American citizens, the representatives of 70% of the American citizens, to say that you're allowed to be an American citizen, to give you American citizenship. But you have the right for 2 years to sign it, so go ahead and sign it. If you don't like it, you can always get rid of it later. You have the right to leave. It's part of the Constitution. A child born to an American citizen at the time of the child's birth is an American citizen and has a right to sign the CRA social contract from the age of 13 until the age of 30. So if you don't sign your social contract, if your parent was an American citizen at the time of your birth, you automatically are an American citizen throughout your childhood, and all the way up until you're 30 years old, you have the opportunity to sign the CRA social contract from the date of the 13th birthday to your 30th birthday. If you don't, at 30th birthday, you might have to be asked to leave the country if you don't want to sign the social contract because you're not American, even though you have been abiding by the CRA social contract, because to live here you have to. Okay, American citizens must sign the CRA social contract to remain an American citizen. Only American citizens have voting rights within CRAs and rating agencies. So you still have, if you're living here, doing business here, and everything, and you're not an American citizen, you still have to be a member of a CRA. It's an obligation, just like you have to pay taxes now under our current government. You have to do certain things under our current government to be a citizen. You have to pay real estate taxes, gas taxes, all the stuff that you currently have to do. In the new system, you will too. And even if you're not an American citizen, you have to do that. Every person in America must abide by the CRA social contract. So you still have, I mean, if you don't want to, you can move out. But because it's not your land, you don't have ownership over this land. You don't have the right to this land anymore. If somebody has land, they get to make the rules for that land. And people who jointly own land together, they can jointly make the rules. And that's what this government's all about. And we'll go over the original, in my original authority video, I'm going to go into that a little bit, or a lot. An American citizen has the right to resign their citizenship. Every person has the right to leave America except for serving a criminal sentence. Other than you created a crime, you have to serve a prison sentence or pay a fine or something, you're allowed to leave. The approval of legislative representatives of 70% of American citizens from the federal sector 25 is needed to allow non-Americans to enter or remain in America. A 40% vote repeals the allowance, and the representatives may set conditions and limitations. So if you're not an American citizen, you need 70% of the, let me state it correctly, representatives of 70% of American citizens to agree that you're allowed to stay in America. And that's from Sector 25. That's the identity sector. Deals with citizenship, ownership, and stuff, and the like. The approval, and that's to allow you to come over here to begin with, but then another step is to become an American citizen. And once you become an American citizen, you can't be repealed by 40%. It's at 80% to throw you out. And that's not going to happen unless you're really a terrorist type of person. You go fight with ISIS or something, and you fight against America, we're probably not going to let you back in because we're going to take your citizenship away. Okay, a short video just talking about this one section. It really is one section within the full CRA structure. So I want to give a lot of different smaller videos to give a good understanding of what we're talking about here. So please consider a donation to Haley 2024 the movement, and until the next video.